Zivan used to believe that the loudest place in the world was the crowded bazaar near his home. But he was wrong. The loudest place was his own mind. Every morning, before the sun even rose over the rooftops, before the call to prayer echoed through the air, his thoughts were already running marathons. What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I'm not enough? The questions came like waves, restless, relentless, refusing to let him breathe. From the outside, Zivan looked calm, responsible, even wise for his age. Inside, he was trapped in overthinking, tangled in invisible chains forged by doubt. Zivan had always been a thinker. As a child, he would sit quietly while other kids played, building stories in his head. Teachers praised him for being reflective. But somewhere along the way, reflection turned into rumination. In high school, when he hesitated before answering a question and someone else spoke first, he replayed that moment for days. When a friend responded with a simple, "okay," instead of their usual excitement, he dissected the tone, the punctuation, the hidden meanings that probably weren't even there. His mind became a courtroom where he was both the accused and the harshest judge. At night, his room would be dark, but his mind would glow with imaginary scenarios. He imagined losing opportunities he hadn't even applied for yet. He imagined arguments that never happened. He imagined disasters that existed only in the fragile space between fear and possibility. The future was a monster he kept feeding with what-ifs. And the more he fed it, the bigger it grew. One evening, Zivan stood on the rooftop of his house, watching the sky fade from orange to deep blue. The city lights flickered on, one by one, like tiny stars trying to compete with the real ones above. He wondered why it was easier for the sky to let go of the sun than it was for him to let go of a single embarrassing memory from 3 years ago. He could still feel the heat in his cheeks from that day he stumbled during a presentation. He could still hear the whisper of a classmate's laugh, though he wasn't even sure if it had been real or imagined. That was the curse of overthinking. It blurred the line between reality and fear. The turning point didn't arrive like a thunderstorm. It came quietly, disguised as exhaustion. Zivan had been offered an opportunity to lead a small project at work. It wasn't massive. It wasn't life-changing. But to him, it felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. For days, he made lists of pros and cons. He asked friends for advice, then doubted their advice. He researched leadership styles, productivity hacks, and failure rates. The more information he gathered, the less clear he felt. His mind was a crowded room where everyone was shouting at once. The night before he had to give his answer, he barely slept. His thoughts kept spinning. If I say yes and fail, everyone will see I'm not capable. If I say no, they'll think I lack ambition. If I say yes and succeed, expectations will rise and I'll have to keep proving myself. There was no safe choice in his mind. Every road led to disaster. At dawn, drained and hollow-eyed, Zivan looked at himself in the mirror. For once, he didn't see a failure or a fraud. He saw someone tired. Tired of fighting battles that existed only in imagination. Tired of trying to predict every outcome in a world that refused to be predicted. And in that quiet moment, he asked himself a question he had never dared to ask before: what if overthinking is not protecting me, but imprisoning me? The realization didn't magically silence his thoughts. But it planted a seed. Later that day, when his manager asked for his decision, his heart pounded so loudly he thought it might echo across the room. His mind started its usual routine, calculating risks, drafting worst-case scenarios. But this time, he noticed it. He noticed the noise instead of drowning in it, and in that small gap of awareness, he made a choice that terrified him. He said yes. The days that followed were messy. He made mistakes. He forgot minor details. Once, he miscommunicated a deadline and had to apologize. Each error tried to pull him back into the spiral. See? His mind whispered. You're not cut out for this. But something had shifted. Instead of replaying the mistake for hours, he forced himself to write down one lesson and one action to fix it. Then he moved on. It felt unnatural, like learning to walk with a new posture. But slowly, step by step, the weight began to lift. Zivan started experimenting with silence. Not the silence of an empty room, but the silence within. Every evening, he sat for 10 minutes without his phone, without music, without distractions. At first, his thoughts screamed louder than ever, as if angry at being observed. But he didn't try to fight them. He imagined them as cars passing on a busy road. He didn't chase them, he simply watched. Some were loud trucks of fear. Some were small scooters of random memories. None of them were him. They were just traffic. One afternoon, while walking home, he realized something strange. The sky looked clearer. The air felt lighter. It wasn't that his problems had disappeared. It was that he wasn't magnifying them anymore. He had spent years believing that if he analyzed every possible outcome, he could avoid pain. But pain had visited him anyway, through anxiety, sleepless nights, missed chances. Overthinking hadn't saved him. It had stolen from him. A true test came when he had to present the project results to a larger audience. The old memory of stumbling during a presentation resurfaced, vivid and sharp. His palms grew sweaty. His heart raced. The familiar script began: you will embarrass yourself. You will forget your words. They will judge you. This time, instead of arguing with the thoughts, he smiled faintly. There you are, he thought. The noise. Thank you for trying to protect me. But I've got this. When he stepped onto the stage, his voice trembled at first. He saw a few people whispering in the crowd and felt the sting of insecurity. But he kept going. He focused on the message rather than the imagined judgments. He spoke not perfectly, but honestly, and when he finished, there was applause. Not thunderous, not cinematic. Just real. Enough. Later that night, standing again on his rooftop, Zivan reflected on the journey. He hadn't become fearless. He still had moments when his mind spiraled. He still caught himself overanalyzing texts, conversations, decisions. The difference was that he no longer believed every thought deserved his loyalty. He understood that the mind is a powerful tool, but a terrible master. He began to set small rules for himself. If a thought had no solution, he would not give it more than 5 minutes. If a mistake had a fix, he would focus on the fix instead of the shame. If fear knocked on his door, he would ask whether it was based on fact or fiction. These rules weren't perfect shields, but they were anchors. They kept him from drifting too far into the storm. Months passed. The project he once feared became a stepping stone. More importantly, it became proof. Proof that action silences doubt more effectively than analysis ever could. Proof that growth feels uncomfortable because it stretches the limits of who you believe you are. Zivan realized that confidence isn't the absence of noise, it's the decision to move forward despite it. One evening, a younger colleague approached him, eyes filled with uncertainty. "How do you stop overthinking?" they asked. Zivan almost laughed at the irony. If only they knew how familiar that prison felt. He paused before answering, choosing honesty over perfection. "You don't stop it completely," he said gently. "You learn not to obey it." As he walked home that night, he felt a quiet pride. Not the loud pride of trophies or titles, but the deep, steady pride of someone who has fought an invisible war and chosen resilience. The mental noise still visited him sometimes, like an old habit knocking on the door. But now, he had the courage to let it knock without letting it in. Zivan understood something profound: overthinking is often fear wearing the mask of preparation. It convinces you that if you think long enough, hard enough, you'll be safe. But safety built on constant doubt is just another form of captivity. True freedom begins when you accept uncertainty as part of life and trust yourself to handle whatever comes. Under the vast night sky, he breathed deeply. The stars shimmered, distant yet steady. They didn't overthink their place in the universe. They simply burned. And for the first time in a long while, Zivan felt like he was doing the same, not perfectly, not without flicker, but with courage. He was no longer trapped in overthinking. He was learning to rise above it. And that rise wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, consistent, and powerful. Because breaking free from mental noise isn't about silencing every thought. It's about choosing which ones deserve your energy. And Zivan finally chose himself.